He sat alone at his kitchen table, an old wedding band, sitting in the drawer beside him, untouched for years. The house was quiet, just the steady hum of the refrigerator and the distant ticking of an old clock on the wall. His tea had gone cold, but his thoughts kept warm, circling a simple question: could I fall in love again? Would saying I do now be wise, or just wishful thinking? If you've ever felt this same quiet wonder, if you're standing at that very crossroad where companionship, peace, freedom, and vulnerability meet, stay with me, because what follows are 5 essential truths you must consider before saying I do again, not just for your heart, but for your peace, your future, and your legacy. Listen carefully. It begins here. Finances. Love isn't the only thing you'll be blending. You see, when you were young, marriage felt like starting fresh, 2 people building together from scratch. But remarrying after 60, it's about blending entire lives that have already been built. 2 financial histories, 2 sets of obligations, 2 futures already set in motion. I remember James, 72, a retired high school principal. After his beloved wife passed away, James spent years living alone, finding comfort in his routines. Then came Carol, kind, lively, radiant. She brought a spark into his days. Her laughter made him feel 40 again. Within a year, they decided to marry. But James, he hadn't spoken to a financial advisor. He didn't realize that by remarrying, his social security benefits, based on his late wife's work record, would be reduced. He didn't know that Carol's debts, credit cards, and old medical bill could legally entangle with his, depending on state law. And his will? It had to be completely redone, because remarriage automatically changed his estate plan. Without realizing it, James had left his children exposed to legal confusion, and potentially to conflict. That's the thing about remarrying after 60. Love isn't the only thing you're combining. Your bank accounts, your retirement savings, your pensions, even the intentions you had for your estate, all come into play. This isn't about mistrust. It's about clarity, foresight, and care. Here's the quiet truth most people avoid. Your financial picture at this age is more complicated because you've worked hard, saved carefully, maybe even lost a spouse, and your financial life reflects that history. The lesson? Sit down together with a financial advisor who truly understands the needs of older couples. Not just someone who talks about splitting expenses or merging accounts, but someone who can explain how remarriage may impact your taxes, your social security benefits, your healthcare costs, your long-term care insurance, and your inheritance plans. Ask about things you may not have considered. How will remarriage affect your Medicare premiums? Will your pension survive a second marriage? Should you file taxes jointly or separately? And yes, you might even need to discuss a prenuptial agreement. Not because you don't trust your partner, but because you want both of you and your families to feel clear, protected, and respected. These conversations may feel uncomfortable, even unromantic, but in truth, they are an act of love. Because clarity today prevents confusion tomorrow. Because the peace of mind you gain will far outweigh the awkwardness of a difficult but necessary conversation. You've built a life, a financial life, carefully, deliberately, over decades. It's worth protecting. At this stage, financial preparation isn't about greed or selfishness. It's about wisdom, honor, and ensuring that love doesn't unintentionally create legal or financial chaos. So before you say, I do again, ask yourself, have I truly considered what I'm blending beyond just our hearts? Because a marriage after 60, it isn't just about romance. It's about bringing together 2 entire legacies thoughtfully, respectfully, intentionally. And that, my friend, is what love at this age truly requires. Family, you're blending more than 2 lives. I've seen it so many times. A man remarries, assuming his adult children will simply be happy for him. After all, they encouraged him to go out, meet people, enjoy life again. But when it happens, when he announces he's engaged, everything shifts. Family dynamics at this age? They're complex, layered, filled with emotions that even your children may not fully understand themselves. Take Linda's story. She remarried at 68. Her children had encouraged her to Get back out there. But the moment she shared her engagement news, the mood changed. Her daughter, who always said she wanted Mom to find happiness, suddenly began worrying about inheritance. Her son didn't want to share Thanksgiving dinner with a stranger. Her grandson innocently asked, "Will Grandpa still come at Christmas?" These aren't rejections. These are adjustments, shifts in what they thought was familiar, safe, predictable. When you remarry later in life, you're not just blending two people. You're blending entire histories, memories, loyalties, expectations. There will be opinions. There will be feelings. Sometimes, there will even be resistance. The key? Start the conversation early, before assumptions fill the silence. Explain why this relationship matters to you, not defensively, but openly, calmly. Let your family know that your decision isn't about replacing anyone, but about honoring your own journey toward companionship. Be honest about what will and won't change. If you plan to keep family traditions intact, say so. If you foresee holidays feeling different, prepare them gently. Invite your children to get to know your partner, but never force immediate closeness. Trust takes time. So does acceptance. Your loved ones, especially adult children and grandchildren, may worry about losing the version of you they've known for decades. They may fear that this new relationship will erase their memories of the past or shift your priorities away from them. You must reassure them, through words and actions, that your role as parent, grandparent, and family anchor remains unchanged. And remember, not everyone adjusts at your pace. That's okay. Approach their hesitation with empathy. Patience isn't just for your partner, it's for your whole family. Also, recognize that their reactions might not be about you or your partner personally. Sometimes, it's about their own grief, their own adjustments, their own memories of the person you loved before. Give them grace. In some families, these conversations will lead to beautiful acceptance. In others, there will be awkward moments, misunderstandings, maybe even distance for a while. But the heart of the matter is this: marriage at this stage of life is a personal decision, but it echoes across the people who love you most. So before you say, "I do again," understand that you're not only inviting a new person into your life, you're inviting them into your family's narrative, their history, their holidays, their hearts. Take time to prepare your family and yourself for that reality, because family harmony, like love, needs space, honesty, and time to grow. Emotional expectations. Love looks different now. When you were younger, love was often loud, grand gestures, long phone calls, planning futures you hadn't yet built. Back then, marriage was about building careers, families, homes, savings, legacies. But after 60, everything changes. At this stage, you're no longer starting from scratch. You're no longer chasing a dream of what life could become. You've already built so much and lost much too. Now, you're looking for peace, companionship, connection. But this love, it's keener, subtler, and it requires different expectations. Take George's story. George, a 75-year-old retired engineer, had been married for nearly 5 decades before he became widowed. With his late wife, everything was shared: grocery shopping, folding laundry, evening walks, even daily routines. So when he met Marie, a vibrant woman who had lived independently for over a decade, George naturally expected that same closeness. But Marie valued her space. She enjoyed quiet evenings alone, her own books, her own rhythms, her solitude. When George suggested they move in together, Marie gently said, "Let's take it one step at a time." Oh, at first, George felt hurt, confused. Did Marie truly love him? Why didn't she want to share everything? But as time passed, he came to realize something vital. Marie did love him deeply, but she didn't want to lose herself again. She had spent years crafting a life that worked for her. A life of independence, freedom, self-care. What George learned, and what so many men must learn at this stage, is that emotional expectations must evolve too. Marriage after 60 isn't about merging completely. It's about respecting boundaries, honoring individuality, and finding ways to connect without losing yourself. So before you remarry, Ask yourself honestly, do you expect to live together or maintain separate homes? How much time do you imagine spending side by side? Are you looking for a travel companion, or someone who simply sits with you in the garden on quiet mornings? These aren't trivial questions. These define whether your future together feels peaceful or pressured. At this stage, companionship often matters more than romance. Quiet understanding may mean more than passionate declarations. And independence? It's not selfish, it's something many have earned and learned to cherish. But it goes deeper still. When you enter a relationship later in life, you bring more than love. You bring history, grief, memories, disappointments, betrayals, scars. You may still feel the ache of loss, or carry the weight of a divorce that shaped your trust. These emotions don't simply disappear when you fall in love again, but acknowledging them, sharing them honestly, creates depth, trust, and true intimacy. Your partner deserves to know the real you, not just the happy parts, but the vulnerable ones too. That's why emotional readiness matters just as much as legal or financial preparation. If you're still grieving, if you're still carrying unresolved anger from a past relationship, it's okay to wait. It's okay to heal first, because remarriage isn't about avoiding loneliness. It's about creating a relationship that brings peace, support, and shared joy. So ask yourself, am I truly ready to love again, not just with my heart, but with a mind clear of old wounds, and a spirit that respects both my independence and my partner's? At this age, love isn't about grand promises. It's about choosing, every day, to honor who you are, who your partner is, and the delicate balance that makes companionship after 60 so meaningful. Legal matters. Love is also law. When you're in your 20s or 30s, marriage often feels like just a ceremony of the heart. Two people, vows, rings, a celebration. But after 60, marriage becomes more than love. It becomes a legal contract, one that touches almost every part of your life. Barbara knew this well. At 67, after raising 2 children and building a successful small business on her own, she met Tom, a retired Navy veteran with a big laugh and a generous heart. They connected quickly, shared the same humor, the same taste in movies, the same outlook on life. When Tom proposed, Barbara said yes, but something inside her told her to pause, to double-check. So she did what many overlook. She met with a family attorney, not to delay the romance, but to protect the reality. That meeting changed everything. Barbara discovered that marriage at her age wasn't just about blending hearts. It meant blending rights, responsibilities, and legal authority. By marrying Tom, he would automatically gain certain legal rights over her estate, her healthcare decisions, even her business. Her children could be left confused, possibly in conflict, if anything happened unexpectedly. Barbara and Tom chose a path that protected them both. They sat down, had open, honest conversations, and created a prenuptial agreement. Not out of mistrust, but out of respect. They updated their wills, clarified powers of attorney, set healthcare directives, and what they discovered in the process. These discussions, though uncomfortable at times, actually strengthened their trust in one another. At this stage of life, love may bring you together, but legal clarity will help keep you together. Think of it this way. You've worked decades to build your home, your savings, your retirement, to provide security for your children or grandchildren, to protect your own autonomy. Remarriage affects all of that. Without clear documentation, your new spouse could become your legal healthcare proxy, even if you never discussed it. Your estate could be divided in ways you never intended. Your family could face court battles you never wanted them to endure. So, before saying, "I do" again, ask yourself and your partner, do we both understand how this marriage changes our legal status? Are our wishes for our estates, healthcare, and end-of-life decisions written down and clear? You might feel tempted to avoid these talks. After all, discussing wills and prenuptial agreements doesn't feel romantic, but these conversations are acts of love. They show care for each other and for everyone you hold dear. And perhaps most importantly, they provide peace of mind. At this stage, peace matters more than ever. Nothing creates tension faster than legal confusion, especially when money, property, or medical care are involved. A solid legal foundation, built before marriage, can prevent misunderstandings, protect your legacy, and ensure that your partner and your family all know exactly where they stand. You deserve that peace. Your partner deserves it too. So don't shy away from legal conversations. Embrace them, because love after 60 isn't about avoiding reality. It's about embracing it with clarity, respect, and wisdom. Happiness. Will this relationship add to the peace you've built? There's a quiet question every man over 60 should ask before saying, I do again. Not, do I love her? Not, do we laugh together? Not even, will my family approve? But this, will this relationship add to the happiness and peace I have already built? Or will it quietly ask me to sacrifice the balance I've worked so hard to create? Walter, a 72-year-old widower, found himself asking that very question. After years of living alone, he met Karen vibrant, full of energy, adventurous. At first, Walter loved her spirit. Her enthusiasm pulled him out of his routines, gave him a fresh sense of excitement. They traveled, entertained, filled their calendar with plans. But as time passed, Walter felt tired, not because Karen was demanding, but because her lifestyle didn't align with what truly made him happy anymore. He cherished slow mornings, reading in the garden, time for reflection and quiet hobbies. Karen preferred weekends away, busy schedules, new projects. Their rhythms clashed. Walter didn't regret marrying Karen, but he admitted to himself, later, that he hadn't stopped to ask a critical question. What does happiness mean to me at this stage of life? And that, my friend, is the heart of this truth. When you were younger, happiness may have looked like success, career growth, a full house, building momentum, achieving milestones. But after 60, happiness shifts. It takes on a quieter rhythm. It shows up in peace, in mornings that belong to you, in meaningful conversations, in freedom to spend your time exactly how you choose. Remarrying, even to someone wonderful, will change that rhythm. So before you say, I do again, pause it. Ask yourself honestly, does this relationship bring me more joy or more adjustment? Will it enhance my life or require me to reshape everything I've built? Am I entering this marriage because it feels peaceful or because I feel pressured, lonely, unsure? Maybe you don't want to merge finances. Maybe you prefer to keep your home exactly as it is. Your Sunday mornings quiet. Your hobbies uninterrupted. That's okay. You've earned the right to protect your peace. And any relationship you enter now should honor that. Happiness, at this age, is about depth, not noise. It's about sharing the right things, in the right way, with the right person. It doesn't have to look like traditional marriage at all. It can look like companionship, travel together, but separate homes, or simply quiet evenings side by side, each reading your own book. There's no rule book. The only measure that matters is whether this relationship honors who you've become and allows you to keep feeling like yourself. So take your time, reflect carefully, because you are allowed, in fact, you are wise, to put your happiness first. At this stage, love should feel like a calm step forward, not a leap into uncertainty. Choose peace. Choose joy. Choose a relationship that adds to the life you've already worked so hard to build. You've built so much already. You've weathered storms. You've learned hard lessons. And now, whatever path you choose, remarriage, companionship, or solo joy, choose it with clarity. Love after 60 isn't about leaping into the unknown. It's about stepping calmly toward more peace, connection, and fulfillment. Take your time. Ask hard questions. Talk with your partner, your family, your advisor. But most importantly, talk with yourself. You are allowed to put your happiness first. You are allowed to protect your peace. And if you do, whatever decision you make will honor you. Not just your heart, but your entire life. If this reflection resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which truth stood out most today? Your story could help someone else standing at this very same crossroad.